leaders who want real results, not more noise. Join Emmanuel Rose as he helps business builders turn AI from a confusing add-on into a practical advantage with clearer messaging, stronger trust, and smarter systems. If you felt the shift happening in real time, you're not imagining it. In the agentic pivot, Emmanuel calls it the move from experimenting with AI to building with it, so it supports your team, your brand, and your growth. Let's get into it.
I'm Emmanuel Rose, and today's guest is Simon Bowen, founder of the Models Method and a leading authority on strategic thinking systems, which will be interesting. For more than 20 years, Simon has worked with Fortune 500 companies, heads of government, military leaders, and visionary CEOs to extract their intuitive genius and translate it into visual frameworks that clarify positioning, improve commercial outcomes, and make complex value repeatable. We'll focus on how to make thinking visible and scalable so marketing teams can actually capture and leverage their best ideas, not just their adequate ideas, but their best ideas. Simon, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Emmanuel.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to our conversation, and I appreciate you taking some time today.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, so explain to me this idea that you have that says that thinking systematically is undervalued. Let's dig into that a little bit.
Well, I think for a start, we're becoming cognitively more lazy as we get better and better tools. And I don't just mean AI, I just mean tools in general. As we get better and better tools to help us with thinking, we become cognitively less able. So really simple analogy, right? Mental arithmetic started to become a depleted skill when calculators became available, right? And you and I went to school when you had to learn the times tables and really be able to do math in your head, but no one does that anymore, right? I remember the first time I traveled overseas, I had to work out the exchange rates in my head. I had to know what it was and be able to do it there on the spot when you're bartering with somebody. Now, just, you go to the app on your phone and bang, out it comes. So as we get more and more tools, we become cognitively more lazy. And any business is only as good as the idea on which it's built and the thinking of the leaders in that business. So, every business exists to serve a market, and species become extinct when they cease to be relevant. And so if your idea is no longer relevant to the marketplace, the business becomes extinct. And so you have to constantly be thinking about relevance. What is the thing that would make you more relevant? And a lot of people get into business and then repeat the same thing each year for 30 years, as opposed to what do people need now? And so thinking is a principal skill of the entrepreneur. And, yet we're being equipped with tools that make us cognitively more lazy. So, thinking is a structure, it's a system, and the quality of thinking is something that we're generally not taught through school or university. We're taught by rote. And so we're not taught to think, we're taught to rehearse and repeat.
Yeah.
And, the conversations that I'm having with business leaders around the world, generally speaking, is, probably 100% of the time is challenging their thinking.
Right.
And, trying to extract intuitive genius and organized genius, because people can't buy your intuition. They can only buy what you can explain.
Let me lay this on you then. Let's say I have followed some of the great masters of thinking, Heidegger, Jung, Tolkien. Who else would you add to that list?
I keep going back to Socrates, and mainly the Socratic method. Socrates supposedly made a lot of quotes, but all of the writing seems to suggest that all he ever did was ask questions, the Socratic method. And in fact, Plato, who's a student of Socrates, was the one that's attributed to a lot of the quotes that Socrates supposedly made.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, the the quality of thinking has to do with the questions you ask. And I'm a in terms of contemporary thinkers, I'm a big fan of Einstein, mainly because he applied the scientific method, right? So he had a method for his thinking, which is the scientific method, and and they calculated, mathematically what he proposed was actually happening. So he had a method, and he had a mechanism, and there's a bit more to thinking than just having an opinion.
Thank you.
That you share. Well, Emmanuel, to have an opinion and hold on to it, you have to have two things, right? You actually have to have an idea to have an opinion, and then to hold on to it, you have to require yourself to remain ignorant of all alternatives.
That is beautiful.
You can only believe that the Earth is flat so long as you refuse to accommodate any thinking that might suggest it's actually round.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
You have to have an idea, and then you've got to have ignorance to hold on to an opinion. So, thinking challenges that. It's interesting.
I think the other thing, and this is something I've cultivated in my older age, is things that I have no opinion about. And I purposefully don't have opinions about things that don't affect me at all, and I don't need to muck up my brain space with opinions.
Well, it's the Stephen Covey circle of concern, circle of influence stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you can be worried. You can have a lot of things on your circle of concern, and they'll consume your energy, but you have no influence over them.
Right.
But if you just focus on the things you can influence, the gap between the two circles gets smaller, right? And a lot of people burn time on concerns they have no influence over. And then the other thing is, don't have an opinion on something you don't have evidence for.
Right. Yeah.
So you can have an opinion if you have evidence, but if you just have an idea, don't make it an opinion. Just make it an idea, and then go and seek the evidence. And so there's a bit of effort required. So invest it in the things that you need to and want to influence.
Beautiful.
Right?
Yeah, there is effort, and that is it, to have an observation and then make an inquiry, and then find people who know more about it than you do, and then be a willing student and a learner. Right?
Yeah. Well, be willing to challenge, and be willing to be challenged.
Yeah.
Right. And can I draw something for you? Is that
I hope so. Yeah, please do. Let's get that set up for you. Okay. You're live.
So perfect. So if this is the world around us, full of chaos.
Yes, it is.
It is, and this bit is our comfort zone.
Yeah.
This is the bit that we feel safe in, right? Inside the comfort zone.
Yeah.
And the reason we feel safe inside that comfort zone is because we understand the patterns. We know how that works, right? Inside the comfort zone.
Yeah, like a 5-year-old, right? I know what time I have to get up and eat and brush my teeth and all those things.
Yeah. It's our comfort zone, right? Now, the world around us feels chaotic, but it's not really. It's only chaotic because you don't know the connections between the chunks.
Yeah.
What makes something feel like chaos is that you don't understand the connections. You might see the chunks, but you don't understand the connections, right? And so then to get out so we leave the chaos zone for two reasons: to get away from something, which means any direction will do, including into things that are bad for us,
right?
Or to get to something. And so what usually happens is people step out into the chaos, don't like it, they pop back in again, they step a bit further out, don't like it, pop back in again. And so they spin on the edge of the comfort zone for a little while.
Yeah.
The comfort zone's designed to keep you safe, and it's like this thick skin around your thinking.
Yep.
And the challenge constantly for all of us is this little layer here. So thinking is the process of being able to think beyond your comfort zone, because and look at what might be out there and start looking for the evidence of the connections. So what mostly happens is people express opinion from inside the comfort zone, which doesn't make it right.
Yep.
The. 'Cause, 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 the shows like Survivor and things like that. What's that, reality TV, right?
Yeah.
People go, well, this is my truth. Well, that doesn't make it the truth.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That.
It's the truth inside your comfort zone, right? And so business leaders need to live the majority of their time in this transition between their comfort zone and the real world. And here's the real challenge for a business leader. Your team won't follow you into chaos if you don't demonstrate courage.
Right. Yeah.
Your team needs you to demonstrate courage for them to jump their own comfort zone and go into chaos. And so, you know, the challenge for an entrepreneur with a team is you have to have the courage to stretch your thinking. So how do you get the courage to step out of your comfort zone and into chaos? Go find the evidence, do the deeper thinking, think harder and better than anybody else. The mantra in business is outthink first, then outsell, and then outserve.
Yeah.
That's the mantra in the marketplace.
I love it.
You know?
Well, it's number one. I love the image that you put together there. It's very beautiful and very easy to understand. So good on you for that. I know you're modeling the models method, but explain to me the sequence that you go through when you're thinking through the models method with your clients.
It's really interesting. I'll go back to drawing again. So why do I use visual models for a start, right? I'll do this kind of quickly. I know that we've got a short podcast. If you use words only in both your thinking and in your communication, people say, I can hear you, but it's just noise. So we know when we give people visual access to an idea, 83% of the world's information comes into us through the visual channel. And people go, well, now I can see. And that's interesting. What I could just hear before, like a book is interesting, a book is you know, we can read a book, but it's interesting when we see it as a movie.
Yeah.
But the bit that I added with models was giving people structural access. So giving it a shape in geometry. And when that happens, people say, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
And now that's believable. And we live in a believability crisis today because of AI.
For sure.
No one knows what video is real anymore. Right.
Yeah.
And when people get it and see it, they go, well, that's desirable. And then I put up here in the super green zone, I put together a performance. If this was 8 out of 10 on the structural and 8 out of 10 on visual, and we do that with choreography, how we walk through the model, desirable becomes buyable. So there are no accidents in how I'm unpacking this model for you right now. Everything's deliberate. The punchlines, the things I've said and everything else. And so I usually start with, when I'm unpacking an idea or thinking, I usually start with geometry. And people go, that's a bit weird. And I go, well, geometry determines the dynamics and the number of dimensions.
Oh.
So a triangle says you need all three sides or else it collapses. A circle says it's continuous. A 2x2 matrix is comparative. My genius model that I built to codify company genius in a single visual model that you can explain in about 7 minutes. So the entire genius of a company in a single model in 7 minutes is a Venn diagram. So it's not a triangle where you need everything, but it's components of it, structures of. So geometry, how many dimensions in play, and what is the dynamic of the model? And then I put together the content. I start thinking about the model. So I will often draw a model live in front of a room. I've got a reputation for being able to facilitate high stakes, complex, contentious conversations.
Nice.
And if I've got a group of people for 2 hours who are at war over an issue, and I just frustrate them for 3/4 of the available time, so 90 minutes, which is incredibly easy to do. You just listen to everybody equally.
Right.
Like if you've got a room full of people who are in dispute, just listen to everyone equally, and they all get frustrated.
Right.
And then you go to the whiteboard and say, I think I can draw this. Think about that language. I think I can draw this. When you draw, like I'm doing right now, you draw people in. It's so much more powerful than PowerPoint. And I go to the whiteboard and I start drawing a model in the last 30 minutes. and I extract the context and the concept from the room and put it into a model.
Wow.
Not the detail, but just the context and the concept. So why and what, and after 30 minutes, the room goes, that model's the answer. Why didn't you give that to us at the start? And I'm saying, well, we had to find it. Right?
Yeah, couldn't do it. We had to get there.
Yeah, correct. and then it's choreography. So which is the art of delivery. So choreography is I've got something keeps on ringing. Let me try and silence that.
I don't know. I thought it was the angels talking to me. So
no, I don't know. Something keeps ringing on my phone. Choreography is pathway. So this is the communication bit and punchline. So I studied stage magic and comedy.
Nice.
For better business delivery of communication. And the reason is stage magic and comedy are the two art forms that put the audience into the highest state of curiosity.
Love it.
And they both have the same structure, which is a pathway where they're using an understood paradigm to establish a pathway with the audience. And then when the audience feels like they understand what's happening, in a nanosecond, the punchline or the reveal collapses the pathway and introduces a new pathway. Wow. And so when I'm building models, I'm looking for the geometry that actually gives the best structure to this thinking. Then I'm looking to the content that needs to be inside the model with the least amount of words. And then I'm looking for the choreography that's going to deliver that model back as a communication that lands it. So I'm always building the model with the communication in mind, not with the model in mind. And I made a comment before when we unpack company genius with people. So our business works with companies around the world, whether you manufacture components for submarines or you're a sole practice professional, right?
Yeah.
The problem most people have is that their genius is intuitive. They just know how to do it, right? And the market can't buy your intuition.
Right.
We've got to turn intuitive genius into organized genius so that the client goes, that makes sense. That model makes sense. And when you do that, everything changes about how you position in the marketplace. So that's a really fast snapshot view of models and drawing and everything else. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I wonder how somebody would be able to self-serve and self-educate some of that thinking in their own study.
Well, there's a lot of, I didn't invent models, but, and so there are publications like Charlie Munger is, Warren Buffett's partner.
Yeah.
I think he has the 82 models everybody should know. They're physics models and business models and everything else. There are a series of books about the management models every manager should know. What is different about what we do is we actually create specific customized models for companies, and we facilitate thinking through visual models. But it activates a different part of the brain when you start thinking geometrically and visually. Now, there are a lot of people that do visual thinking systems, right? And they're drawing stick figures and arrows and stuff. What we're trying to do is get people to think structurally in terms of the model. What is the geometric structure that would carry a story in this? So, sorry if I just share the screen again.
Yeah.
I've won more business than I can think of by literally saying to a management team, hey, listen, people come to your workplace out of logic. Sorry, I'll do that the other way. Out of logic and emotion.
Yeah.
Emotion, they're acting out of fear. What if I lose my job? Or they're acting out of desire. I love working here. Logic, they can do what you're asking them to do, or they can't do what you're asking them to do. So I've just given a structure to describe how people come to work, right? Motivation.
Right. Yeah.
Down in the red zone, these people who are here out of fear and can't do what you're asking them to do, we might call them prisoners. They're trapped. They don't know how to leave. If you do actually release them, they reoffend to come back. Up here, they're acting out of fear, but they can do what you're asking them to do. Maybe we'd call them conscripts. Put on the uniform and fight the battle, but they don't believe in the cause.
Yeah.
Maybe down here, they're keen, full of desire, but they can't do it yet, maybe we'd call them graduates. You know, they're new, they're keen, easily influenced. And up here, you know, they're full of desire and they can do, maybe we'd call them volunteers. And, you know, we also know that the prisoners won't try and pull the graduates towards them to get more numbers.
Right.
We actually know that, you know, the conscripts aren't motivated out of desire. They're just trying to cover their back. And the volunteers are working hard. What do you normally do to protect the graduates? You ask a volunteer to mentor them. You give your busiest people something else to do, right? To look after the graduates. And folks, what percentage of your workforce would be to the left of that line, acting out of fear, and what percentage would be to the right of that line, acting out of desire, and what percentage would be above that line, who can do what they're supposed to do, and what percentage would be below that line, who can't do what they're supposed to do. And when we run the numbers, I've done this with so many executive teams, we tend to end up with about 15%, about 50%, about 20%, and then sort of less than 10 to 15%.
Yeah, right.
Right. And then
Pareto,
at the end, I go,
Pareto at that level.
Yeah, right. And so at the end of this little conversation, because the structure's been driving this, right?
Yeah, right.
I say, by the way, if you offer voluntary redundancy, who will take it? Well, the volunteers, because they know their market value. They're going to be happy anywhere.
Right.
So they're going to get a bunch of money and go and work somewhere else. The volunteers take voluntary redundancy, not the prisoners.
Yeah.
And conscripts, right?
Yeah.
And how much of your time are you spending on the prisoners? You know, you need to firewall them.
Yep.
And would you like to change these numbers?
Absolutely.
And they go, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I go, why don't we do that then? And I've just won. You know.
Yeah, that's easy. Yeah, you've walked them into the logical outcome, right?
Because I know most management teams are spending their time on the red quadrant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can quickly in a single sweeping comment go, why don't we firewall that?
Yeah.
And shift the other two quadrants, the amber zones. What would that mean for your business? They go, that'd be amazing. Well, why don't we do that then?
Yeah. Right. What's keeping us? Yeah. Right.
Well, they go, how do you do that? And I would go, well, you know, I have a framework for doing that, and I'm going to show them the genius model that lay out exactly how that's going to happen, and we can build a project around this. And they go, well, that's cool. That would work. That makes sense. So let's go and do it. So, you know, and I'm drawing this on a whiteboard in a room, which means they're looking at this going, that guy's not using any slides. He clearly knows this stuff.
Yeah. Cold. Yes.
I've demonstrated my thinking.
Yep.
So, you know, in a world of AI, actually, this is a really important thing I'd love your audience to understand. In a world of AI, there are your products and services, and a lot of people are going to market on the back of the products and services, which elicits price-based.
Yep. It's commoditized. Yep.
Yeah, totally commoditized. Your thinking is the real product.
Yeah.
That sits underneath that. And it's the 80% of your thinking that is curated. So 80% of everything we all do is curated. In other words, we're using practices that exist in the marketplace. And we've refused to use some practices because they're not congruent.
Yep.
And then we bring others in because they are. And we bring some things in because they're relevant to the customer, and we leave some things out, right? The hidden bit that is costing people is the 20% that is created. Your original lens of thinking. So
yeah.
And when that is invisible, you can't get paid for it. If you can't explain it. So, you know, think about it like this. Somebody through their life experience gets a lens of perspective that allows them to see their customer's world. They can see their customer's future. And they can say, because of my lens, I can curate a solution for you, 80%. The customer says, well, that's worth some money, right? And then I can integrate that. into a solution for you.
Yeah.
And the customer says, well, I'll pay for that. But they're really paying for this bit over here that allowed you to do that in the first place. And so what's happening with AI is people are turning to AI to curate, and you're already commoditized the moment you do that.
Sure.
As opposed to, the AI line is constantly moving, and there's chunks of value that exist. And as the AI line didn't exist, and then when AI became a thing, it started consuming chunks of value.
Yes.
And everything below the AI line loses all value. It goes to a cost of zero, right?
Get amalgamated, essentially. Yeah.
Correct. The challenge is to make sure you stay above the AI line.
Yeah.
Your 20% is the only thing that AI can't consume. But if you aren't thinking deeply enough about that lens of perspective and the insights that it has, if you're not constantly thinking about that, you're automatically commoditized. But if you turn to AI and go, give me the answer to this, you've already handed it over, right? As opposed to using the tool against your original lens of perspective. Does that make some sense?
I love it. Yeah. And I think it goes back to the idea of the farmers and the hunters, and that most people are farmers, and there's only a very small percentage of us that are hunters. And I put that in the creative lens too, that most people are consumers versus creators. And so it's impossible for a consumer to understand how to stay above that line that you drew. And I think
I mean, that's the risk for the population, right? Anybody who isn't a little bit obsessed about how they bring personal value to the world is going to fall below the line. Right?
Yeah, you're just well, it's also in that classic marketing curve, right? And it's like there's the 20% that are over here on this side, and then there's mass market, and then there's the laggards who are the wagon wheel makers of our time, right?
Yep. And AI is a wonderful tool. It's incredibly dangerous for the person that says, I spent 3 hours with AI and built a business, and now I'm selling the product. Because if you could do it in 3 hours, so could everybody else. Right?
Exactly. Yep.
But I bet Einstein wouldn't be worried about AI because he outthinks everybody. He's prepared to do the heavy lifting required to outthink the marketplace. And I think, the risk of cognitive laziness is that in today's world, entrepreneurs need to be willing to do heavier lifting in terms of the thinking than they ever have before, not lighter lifting. Yeah. So push the tools, right? Don't let the tools diminish your effort and focus. Push the tools. Make more commitment to heavier lifting in the quality of your thinking than you ever have before.
I love it.
Stretch and extend it.
But with a structure, you have to have a structure for thinking, and understand the difference, like you described, between opining and thinking, and that lens of magnification into the future. So that's not a small order.
No, it's not. But I tell you what, if you take your thinking and turn it into a model, then put that into AI, you get a very different result.
I love it.
You get a very different result. The LLM goes, oh, I get it, because the LLMs like structure. They're lazy. The LLMs are energy hungry and they're lazy. And so you give it the structure, you get a very different result when you put your thinking in as a model, not just as words. When I'm using any of the LLMs, the first thing I do is draw a model on my iPad, and then I grab that screenshot, I drop it in, then I ask the questions. Well, the first thing I do is I drop the model in, and I ask the LLM to explain to me what it thinks the model is, and I see if it's right, and then if it's not, I correct it. So we're establishing context with the model. Then I do the work I want to do.
Yeah, you're actually building your own ontology with that thinking partner. Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely.
Tell me, I've loved this conversation, and I wanted to have this talk with you again tomorrow if we could. Very fascinating and very much in the zone of things that I love. But I want to know who your ideal client profile is, and what you're looking for in clients.
Yeah, we work with companies that sell B2B, and they sell a complex solution, meaning the real value has to be explained.
Yeah.
It's not obvious, right? So there's typically a product or a service sitting over the top that the customer thinks they're buying, but actually the real value is in the insight and that original lens of perspective. And so, you know, we have a couple of different ways that we engage with people in a one-to-one consultancy and also in a group sense, so that we can really address the market. But, you know, think consultants, advisors, design companies, construction. So we literally have clients that range from, you know, micro businesses that are advisory firms through to literally companies designing and manufacturing components for submarine construction and everything in between. It's always B2B companies whose real genius is actually hidden typically from the market.
Yeah.
And the market's constantly trying to commoditize them, and they don't really know how to explain their genius.
Yeah. Which would be right now would be most AI companies, because they're all
Yeah.
trying to talk about that they're going to agentify the future, and they're going to agentify
Yeah. So
this.
what does that even mean, right? But we have a lot of SaaS clients. We have a lot of clients in the financial services sector, you know, architectural engineering, consultancy advisory, coaching, although a lot of coaching is opinion based rather than genius based.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, typically those kinds of businesses where the real value is hidden, and they might not even have the words to explain it themselves. And what structuring the thinking does, because here's the thing, the structure of thinking precedes language.
Yeah.
Let me repeat that. The structure of the thinking precedes the language. The brain puts structures to it in ways that you can't explain in words. And so when you let the brain play with the structure of the thinking, the language starts to come, the messaging starts to come. What we've been doing in marketing for decades is leading with language, and that's been restricting the thinking, if you like. If we can't put a word on it, it doesn't exist for us. As opposed to if I draw a model and you and I can't name a space, we know the space is there, we just can't put a name on it.
Yeah.
Now we've got to go out and find out what it is. That's a powerful way of thinking. Yeah.
Well, the modelsmethod.com is where your thinking is encapsulated as at home. Is there something on there that people can go and check out and get?
Well, people can go. We have a tool there called the Green Line Self-Assessment. You know, if I think about the future as a green line heading up and a red line heading down, the question is, what line are you on? And that's particularly relevant in an AI world, because, you know, is the quality of your thinking and the way you express it. You know, business is a function of two things: the level of your thinking and the quality of your influence, your ability to communicate. Get those two things right, you can make it work. And so, are you on a green line heading up into the future, or a red line heading down, based on the quality of your thinking and your ability to communicate? And the Green Line self-assessment takes people through that and gives them a score, sends them a report on what line they're on heading into the future. That's probably the place to start.
All right, Simon. Well, really fascinating conversation. I'm very grateful that you spent some time with me and expanded my thinking. I appreciate that very deeply.
It's been a pleasure, great pleasure. I'm sitting in the future, Emmanuel. You're a day behind me, so I can tell you everything that's happened in the 24 hours that you're about to live. So,
all right, well, that's good. I hope there's a few $100 million in that future. Well, Simon, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure,
and I hope that we can talk again real soon.
Absolutely, I'd look forward to it.
All right, thank you. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emmanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.